What up, you guys? I want to talk about easily being offended, how to overcome that. When you're easily offended, it's one reason. Everything has to pass through your permission. And if it's not acceptable to you, now you're positioned to have a problem with whoever violated in whatever type of way, whether it be curse words, whether someone said something inappropriate or someone did something. You know what I mean? And being easily offended is a sure sign that you're alive for yourself. You know what I mean? You're alive to for your own standard and for other people around you to uphold your standard of living, which your life is in jeopardy if you think that people are going to uphold every standard that you have. Now you're positioned for misery, complaining and dwelling on other people that don't care about your standards of what you think should be. You know what I mean? This is why I just give people permission to do what they prefer to do. And I feel like it's my duty to love them in their current form, hoping that maybe something I say can elevate them and call them towards what they were called to be. You know what I mean? But yeah, like so many people are, you know, feeling sad or, depressed or even suicidal and stuff. And in order for you to be discouraged, your focus has to be on you. You can't be discouraged unless your focus is on you, how things are happening to you, how you feel like a victim, how life never goes your way, and me, basically. But your purpose in life is deeper than your standard and your criteria being met. You know what I mean? We're so needs driven, and we think that's normal to always need someone to do the things that we think we need them to do in order for us to be okay, completely making us an emotional liability. You know what I mean? And if I personally thought that way, then me wanting to be a motivational speaker, like I wouldn't be able to be there for people. I'd be checked out. I would be emotionally unavailable because I would be dealing with the burdens of life, so much so that if someone comes to me needing assistance, I can't even help that person. But life's not a burden. Life's not like it's a gift. If you think it's a burden, if you think life's a this or life's a that, it's, you know what I mean? It's because, you just, you don't understand what you're alive for. You think you're alive for people to treat you well. You think you're alive for people to not cut you off in the road. You're alive for when you let somebody merge into traffic that they need to thank you and people need to have gratitude and people should be this way. And you know what I mean? Like just repeating the word should and shouldn't all day, and you wonder why you complain because you have a huge list of what should be and a huge list of what shouldn't be. And every day those things are being attacked. You know what I mean? Every day the things that you think shouldn't be happening, man, it's gonna poke at you, and you've trained your mind to only focus on what shouldn't be. You know what I mean? And you lose sight of looking like, trying to find out what your purpose is, why you're here. You know what I mean? Like if you don't find out why you're here, you're gonna live a life less than, you know what I mean? You're gonna live a life less than what it was created for. And you're gonna find your identity in other people and say stuff like, well, my mom didn't love me, or my dad didn't love me, or, you know what I mean? Or this happened, or I was conceived through rape and my parents didn't love each other and all this other stuff. But it's like, yo, you're here. Like you're here because God said so, regardless of how you got here. Doesn't mean you're any less anointed. Doesn't mean that you have any less purpose. Doesn't mean that there's not a future ahead of you. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that there's things that were assigned for you to do that, you know what I mean? And so yeah, man, so God wants you to let your light shine, to the whole world. But that's hard when it becomes hard when everybody around you is diminishing your light. And people diminish your light because you have a standard on their life that's being violated constantly, which leads to your frustration, which leads to you dragging your feet out of bed, which leads to you not feeling okay, not doing okay. You know what I mean? And give me a second. 1 second, you guys. Ultimately leads to you focusing on things that you weren't meant to be focusing on. You know what I mean? So in short, it's going to be a super short podcast. I'm actually about to end it. Overcoming offense means dying to your old philosophy and embracing new one. Being curious about your purpose, chasing that, going to God and asking him to reveal why are you here in the first place and how does he want you to think? You know what I mean? Because our mentalities is being shaped by the injustice of the world. And if you let this world shape your mind, then you'll be a product of what you've been through. And they'll always stay there, right? And then your next 20 years look like your last 20 years. So many people that have anxiety, depression, like all these types of things. and they just have no hope for a better future because pain is all they know. So therefore, moving forward, they feel like they can't because that's all they've ever known. You know what I mean? This is why, like, there's a quote I read that's like, a familiar hell is more preferable than an unfamiliar heaven. You know, it's because people choose what they're used to. It's the reason a woman could get abused for so long, for 6 years, 7 years, and stay with a dude, you know, even though she probably wants to move on. But the pain, the abuse is what she's used to. She doesn't know any better. She's been conditioned to stay there because she stayed in it so long that she keeps telling herself, I've been in this so long, it's that much harder to get out. It's the reason people can't stop smoking when it's been 20 years, 15 years, because they keep conditioning their mind to believe, since I've had the substance for so long, I can't be without it. You know what I mean? And then a cigarette becomes Lord, and then the abusive boyfriend becomes Lord, and you know, all these things become God above God himself. You know, like, there was a time when I loved some girl more than anybody, more than God, more than myself, more than my own mother. Like, nothing mattered more than her. And if she didn't like me, I felt like nobody liked me. Why? How is it that one person doesn't like you and you feel like nobody likes you? It's because to you, that one person is everybody. That one person is the whole world. You know what I mean? And then it's idolatry. And then it's just depression on my end, me feeling sad. She's not doing this. She's not saying that. You know, me completely being dependent on her saying the right things, doing the right things for me to be okay. Which is why I was always offended by her, by the things she failed to do, the things she failed to say, by the consideration she failed to have. And it was all about me and what I think she should be for me to be okay, which means I was never okay unless it was functioning the way I think that she should, which that mentality alone, so millions of people have, and it destroys their life. So the way to get over thinking that way and becoming such an emotional liability to yourself as well as others is to just wake up in the morning and say, no man owes me anything. Not a text back, not, you know what I mean? You don't have to consider me. You don't have to be there for me. You know, like on the day that Jesus was betrayed, like, he didn't have issues with man. When he rose from the dead, he didn't rise from the dead saying, hey, to those backstabbers, I got to have a word with them. You know, he referred to them as brothers. Why? Because he didn't have an issue with them. Why? Because he didn't come here for people's loyalty. He didn't come here for people to do the right things by him. He came here to fulfill his purpose, his mission. He was mission orientated, you know, and when you focus on everything that you're not meant to focus on, life is going to be hell. You know what I mean? And then we go to church only to avoid going to hell, but we live in hell the whole time until we die with the prayers of a better day. You know what I mean? Like, God's not here to make your day better. He's here to give you a mentality that nothing could break you down. Nothing. Like, regardless of what you're going through, life's not hard anymore because of what you're going through, right? Because you have a mentality that transcends beyond current situation. And it's not about here and now. It's about knowing that God is for you. Therefore, who could be against you? You know what I mean? When you have that mentality, nobody could tear you down. Nobody can offend you. Nobody can bother you. You know why people are annoying? You focus on qualities people have that you don't like, that you feel like they shouldn't have. You have a standard for how you think people should be. Now, every time you meet someone who violates that standard, you feel violated and you feel triggered and you feel annoyed. People can't get on your nerves if you get new nerves. People can't, you know what I mean? Like, if you get new nerves, like, no one could get under your skin if you get new skin. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, people always get under my skin. Grow new skin that people can't get under, you know, by loving the people that annoy you, by focusing on, instead of what makes them terrible people, knowing that they have potential and they're choosing to live a life less than. That's why they are, you know, the way that they are. But it's not because they were meant or destined to be that way. And when you start loving all people, you'll be surprised how people don't bother you anymore. You know what I mean? So anyways, so that's it for this podcast. Pretty short. I'm gonna let my phone charge. I might do another one tonight, and see you later. Take care.